Yo, what's going on, boys? This is Grim Reaper bringing you a long-awaited review. Now, I say long-awaited because it's been a long time since we received Chapter 136, and now to have the release and that continuity expanded upon, we have some more development for some characters, and it's important to at least reflect upon, even though they're not gonna. It should actually change the overall result of the story, at least in regards to what we're going to talk about today. So before we begin, make sure that you like the video and subscribe so you can help the channel grow, and we can reach 2K before the end of the year. Now, the first thing I'd like to talk about is Garou. Now, obviously, Darkshine and Garou are going to be really intertwined for both of the issues and both of the scenarios that they currently find themselves in. But separately, their issues are also like pretty gargantuan, and they're actually, I feel like the growth that Darkshine's getting from the scenario, as well as the declarations that Garou has made, both stand to change the future in a dramatic way. And let's expand upon what those two scenarios could really entail. Start with Darkshine. So, in this chapter, we got to see a variety of heroes, including a My Mask and Pooty Pooty, really help clarify what the issue was, or is, with Darkshine, and we've gotten to a point where it seems like he's prepared to overcome it, or reach that next hurdle. So, Darkshine's confidence has been completely shattered and broken. This was like the greatest description of who the character was. He was so proud of his achievements, his physical displays. He was literally a bodybuilder. Individuals who take the majority of their youth or whatever time period and effort they put into it to sculpt their bodies into like showcases of muscle and the different forms and bulks of the human body. And he's an example of that. In this story, he happens to also carry on the strength and speed that would also entail. So, with the hype that we got for the character, I wouldn't say it's exactly true that he probably hasn't ever lost before, but it doesn't seem like Darkshine is really, as we were told, basically, and he hadn't really encountered a threat of this level of any kind. To make it worse, this isn't some normal threat, this is Garou. Most strong fighters aren't able to overcome an individual who is able to continuously progress or continuously overcome the obstacles that you put in their way. Whether it's your overwhelming speed, whether it's the power behind your punches or kicks, whether it's the weapons that you use, whether it's your skill or intelligence, Garou seems to be able to overcome all those issues in battle, in real time, and to a devastating degree. So, to have Darkshine, who's technically would be considered green or new in this regards in terms of tough, high difficulty fighting, encounter a guy like Garou, it's to be expected that he would struggle or that he would get a shock. I know when it actually happened, we ourselves were shocked that this character who has his reputation was going to be developed or taking this kind of hit. Or having this kind of negative effect in this kind of scenario. So it just goes to show that like one has a really good way of like 1 second. All right. So by developing Darkshine's like feelings in regards like that, we're getting to see what the next step of his development should be. Now, as I said before, we talked about him being told that his confidence is broken and having to overcome it. The heroes really only let me not say only. The crux of their argument was heroes don't surrender. Heroes don't give up. And heroes don't falter in front of confidence. Excuse me, in front of their cowardice. Like that's the whole point. Like it's not that heroes or that like great warriors are not scared. Is that they're trained to deal with being scared. And that's really all it is. Like it is a life lesson. Take it into like the real path, like 100%. Like the strongest individuals are not the individuals who like don't get scared. They're the individuals who can deal with great fear, who in the face of like insurmountable odds, in the face of like conclusive defeat, you still persevere, you still maintain your fortitude and your resolve, and you still push through, muddle through. Like that's, I want to say that in a sense I relate to it, especially whether it's in sports or in other endeavors. Like I don't really see a point in giving up, like unless you're just not interested in the task or in the endeavor. Like just keep going. You know, when you're sitting there, I used to play safety in high school. And you're sitting there and the guy has broken through the line, he's gone through the linebackers and you're next or whatever. Like you get in there, you miss your tackle, don't give up. Like roll up, keep pushing, try and hawk him down from behind. It's about finishing the play. And it teaches you, sports do teach you a lot of life lessons, and fighting could be declared a sport in a degree, however you want to consider it. Like this is definitely a life lesson, and it's definitely valuable. Whenever you get knocked down, you have to get back up. It's not like some lovey-dovey childish thing like, oh, just keep trying. No, like when you fail, that's when you have the greatest moments of growth and of learning. Like you don't really learn that much when you do something the first time successfully. You just did it the first time successfully. You didn't learn about the faults. You didn't learn about what could make it go wrong. You didn't learn about how to avoid things that make it go wrong. You didn't learn any of that stuff. You just thought, or whatever the process may be, because there's a bunch of different scenarios in which beginner's luck, right? But that's not what we're talking about, because even that runs out. You throw a spiral, or you do something consistently that you normally wouldn't be able to do, or that masters struggle to do. When you do it easily on the first few attempts, that's not because you're a master. Maybe there's some particulates you're just happening to hit without necessarily knowing. And then once you start to inquire about the mechanics of it, it becomes more difficult. I guess in a sense I'm trying to relate it to Darkshine, to say that Darkshine is a tough fighter. He's a great fighter. All the like resentment and then like the doubt that I had about the character before, because he got beat in that manner, because his attacks weren't that impressive, even though they were impressive, but they weren't crazy like that. Like it's gone. I am indeed connecting the journey, and I am willing to give Darkshine more acknowledgement now than I was before. Like if he's actually willing to step up here now, overcome defeat, and take on Garou for a round 2 or for whatever the situation may be, in the next fight he has to show up and with tremendous resolve. If he does that, I respect the character all the more, because then he'll really embody the indomitable defense. Like not only has almost everyone failed to like seriously damage him or hurt him, when you do beat him, he's still intact, and then he'll come right back with the same resolve. It makes the character perpetually dangerous, perpetually just an immovable wall. That's the type of guy that we need, both like mentally, both like emotionally and physically. Like that's what you want from a hero. So I think it's fair to say that this is Darkshine's first step to like truly embodying or defining what it means to be a hero. Previously it was just his words. He was just all talk. And I pointed that out. It was just all talk. He talked. He spoke all heroically. He had like the sense of like not only tremendous pride in himself, but like his pride was through heroism, heroship, and stuff like that. Hero work. It's a little different now. We've seen his physical capabilities. He also matched up with it. Now it's about showing up and actually fighting Garou. Next, let's talk about Garou himself. Is this guy really the embodiment of absolute evil that he's saying? He's now a monster. It looks like he's really like going into the transformation. We saw the instance where Tadio got involved, and was attempting to, I guess, sway him back. Now, obviously, this was just a memento from Garou's mind while he was like processing all these things, and then Tario popped into his head. Where's the kid? How's the kid going? And we saw his eye, one of his eyes, like fight off the transformation or the degradation of the physical effects that are going on from his monster transformation. But it was for naught. It overcame. And it overcame because he wanted it to. We can't pretend like there's like some like big moral fight going on here with Garou just yet. Like, we've gotten hints of it. Like, don't get me wrong, we've been alluding to the fact that Toddy is probably going to be Garou's emotional anchor in this entire debacle. But the issue is, if he doesn't want that anchor, then it just won't work. Like, in a lot of these stories, because it just happens stereotypically, and I have a bad taste in my mouth for it, like Seven Deadly Sins, where they'll have the villain or the individual who's the main villain, the final obstacle, be susceptible to be swayed through like emotions and like reasoning and other like notions like that. First of all, I don't think it's realistic at all. But like, they usually like convince the individual that he wants to change or that he should change. Well, that isn't the case here. Garou is actively thinking about like his transformation and the process that he's going through, and he wants to be evil. Like, he wants to go to that side for good causes, and we all know how that goes. Like, all these individuals, from the social justice individuals and the political activists today to like 100 to like 80 years ago with like the Germans and stuff like that, the socialists in Germany, to like in Soviet Russia or Stalinist Russia, like those psychotic methods of like controlling the economy that like ended up killing and starving like millions. Like, we've seen a multitude of examples throughout all of time of individuals wanting to do good or having good intentions, and their methods end up killing multitudes, whether it's purposely or inadvertently or as a side effect or things like that. It's why you should pay attention and not just listen to what the sweet talking that people say and like look at the results of their ideas and their policies. That's why you should do things like that in the real sense. Like, it doesn't matter how nice and sweet and how right or justice filled some claim or some like drive may be, if the result of that or the method to get to that result involves a multitude of negative effects, both purposeful, implemented, or just side effects, you probably shouldn't do that. You probably shouldn't do that. Probably shouldn't follow that. Exact same case here with Garou. The exact same case here. He's talking about, oh, let's bring justice to the world. Oh, let's remove all this injustice, like doing this and that, like, oh, they're bullying, so we gotta stop the bullying by fear. Extreme fear. Putting all of humanity in extreme fear. Reaching disaster level God's worth of extreme fear. This is the intentions of Garou's psyche at the moment, at least in regards to the translation that I read. So, I don't mean to compare Garou to those individuals in the real world, but that's along the lines of what you should be thinking. Remember, this is a seinen, not a shonen. You're all adults here. If you're watching this video and you're not an adult, it's because you're intelligent enough and you yourself have chosen to read this story. It's not just all fun and games and jokes all the time. This is the great part of one, that he could take something as high level and as serious, if you really think about it, and mix it in with like 3 butt naked guys and a kid. Yeah, I said it. So like, Do I think Garou has a chance to not become a monster because of Tadio? I think that's the only key. I think that's the only like little sparse coloring in into the entire map of like hate. That's like that could save Garou. Just peel that part of that sticker, and you'll free Garou. But at the end of the day, Garou may do what he's doing for Tadio. That may be the case. I'm not sure, bro. I feel like he could connect in a bunch of different ways. I feel like he also couldn't connect in a bunch of different ways. The only thing that I know for sure is that I need my boy to have a gauntlet of fights before any of this stuff happens, before he becomes the quote-unquote disaster level god, which we'll do a video about in a few days. I need him to fight these individuals. And maybe if that happens, maybe he can get to the god level. Maybe in between those fights, we'll get like more examples of Garou being justified in his claims and justified, or not even justified, describing more of his ideas and seeing how they develop. Because I think this is just like spontaneous. I don't really remember Garou like trying to punish the entirety of humanity. It was mostly just heroes. But now it's moved on past that. Bringing justice through total fear. I'm not sure. Darshan's redeemed. Garou's a monster. See what happens next. Yo!